So, my first car. So I've moved on a bit since then. I wouldn't classify myself as a car enthusiast particularly, but I'm a driving enthusiast. And in the same way that a guitar enthusiast or a guitar player, I suppose, would likely have a few guitars kicking around the place. I have one or two cars, so because they are a tool that enables the job to be done. So I like driving on track days as well, driving on circuit. I've done most of the UK ones, Nürburgring, etc. Germany, and I've done quite a bit of rallying, both in classic cars and in more modern cars like 205 GTI there. And all of which bring, I think, they all add something to the mix in terms of skills and experience, etc. So I'm currently up to about 1.2 million miles in the cars. Hopefully got a few hundred K left in the end. And as we discussed, the high-end radar HPC CAT. CAT is not a, it is a course, but they provide quite a wide range of courses for both for industry, professional drivers, and for keen amateurs like myself. So spent quite a bit of time with them over the last couple of years as well. Over at the known as UTAC, which used to be Millbrook over in Bedfordshire, which was Buxton's moving ground, and it has a lot of experts that is handling circuits, fine routes and what have you, that are great fun. Unfortunately quite expensive, but actually great fun to drive. Okay, so topics for discussion. I'm going to talk a bit about the changing nature of overtaking, so planning the overtake. This won't be, by the way, an instruction course of overtaking. It's going to provide some thoughts and some principles and some observations and probably a few questions about the whole process. We're going to look at the decision to proceed in outline. We're going to look a little bit at execution and completion, practicing overtaking skills, which is quite important. And before that, I'll probably slip in a video, which is about 8 or 9 minutes, which is one of my HPC colleagues, if you like, doing some overtaking in hotspots. We're going to have a break, as said, and we're going to have a Q&A, I suppose, and ask me anything, which could be as wide-ranging as you want, driving-wise. We have to talk about overtaking, but about something else that's absolutely fine too. Okay, why overtaking is a topic? Well, I mean, Paul sort of selected it, but I think it's a really worthwhile topic to think about, because it's one of those things. It's probably the thing we don't get enough practice with the southeast in particular. Overtaking is somewhat few and far between. It's just not that easy to get good at it. And certainly, when I see people evolving in the driving, evolving their driving, overtaking is almost invariably the last thing to get ready, simply because people don't do enough of it. So that's the last skill to become polished, simply because of that. It's also a pretty high risk manoeuvre. I know the roaders we won't do even toe. It's dangerous if you get it wrong. Well, yeah, of course, if you get it wrong, but it's nothing really compared with overtaking the potential for a head-on collision. I think it's arguably the most risky thing that we do routinely, probably. I just asked, has anyone actually seen a really nicely executed three-position overtake in the last year on the road? Have you seen them? Do you remember ever seeing them? It's really uncommon. I can't recall seeing one where someone's moved from follow to contact to take off, move to the other side of the road, check it's okay and gone. I'm out driving quite a bit, so I guess it's pretty rare. So driving public in general, so I'm particularly skilled at this.
Batteries.
Batteries don't measure.
Yeah, waiting for them.
It's really the chips, sir. We're not doing.
Not doing inside leg. Yeah, not brilliant. I don't know. But I can hear the speaker from here, but can you hear me at the back?
If you could move a bit closer to the PC, people at home we'll have that.
Okay, that's fine. All right, people at home, if I do start fading out, just send a message or something. But it's an important skill. I mean, I think it has real relevance even today. You don't want to get stuck behind people or have the person in front determining your progress down the road, particularly. I don't know if anyone, I'm a big fan of skills. I've invested a lot in myself in terms of skills in both driving and other stuff over the last 40 years or so. Anyone recognise that quote, that quotation? Seen that one before? That's, no, it is. Justin Sullenberger. He landed an aircraft on the Hudson River. Why I thought it would be practically impossible. And he said, look, I've been investing in myself, in skills, practice and experience for 42 years. And when I needed that ability, it's there. And I tend to think of all these skills being very much the same light. So you won't need most of these skills most days. But one day you might just need to dip into that bag of ability and pull out the ability to do a really nice thing. Anyway, welcome to Sullenberger. As I say, you don't want to be stuck with a guy or any of the people in that queue behind. Quite a lot of reasonably brisk drivers on the road. You come up behind someone and basically the light goes on. They can't execute a nice overtake, so they basically just have to follow along at the speed that the front is going. So we don't want to be like that. Anyone recognise that? Still, it's from a video made in 1968, I think. Yeah, from London to Bath. It's a drive with a guy called George Ailes, or Ailes, I'm not sure, EYLES, in that Mark II Jaguar with the badge on there. Basically from London Heathrow over to Bath. It's a lovely film. He talks about all the stuff he's doing, overtakes other people on the road and attitude and all that sort of thing. Very much a period piece now, but if you want to see that, it's YouTube, just Google, search on YouTube and London Development. But overtaking in the 60s was really quite different in many ways than it is today, because vehicles are now travelling pretty much at the speed limit. Every car made that I'm aware of can travel at 70 miles an hour or 60 miles per hour, not on dual carriageway motorway. Vehicles have a lot more acceleration. I mean, the diesel estate I turned up in tonight is by a margin faster than before, by 2x time, and massively faster than most cars. And it's fairly ordinary diesel estate, so nothing special today, but much quicker. Most cars have much more acceleration. Automatic transmissions, DSG boxes, fuel clutch boxes, and so on, make accelerating a double. You just apply your foot, put your foot down, and off they go. There's no gears, no getting the car rolling, or any of that stuff. So the upshot is basically, cars are travelling faster. They're also bigger than they've ever been before, so there's more of a blockage to your forward vision. So you've got to manage that as part of the process as well. I put this one in here because I'm interested in seeing what people's experiences are in terms of whether overtaking is less acceptable than it used to be. Are people put off overtaking because it feels a little bit less comfortable than it maybe did, let's say, 10 or 20 years ago?
Yeah, you feel more uncomfortable. You feel, especially if you're on the overtaking, say the little yoga, you still got to fight GTI.
Yeah, quite much. Yeah.
Right? You're overtaking in the way you should.
Yeah.
And you're next thing you know, it's at the time, how to get round it, it's like this, feel small.
Yeah.
And then you want to what
Yes. Well, let's come back to this. What do you think?
I think the other thing is that, like you said earlier in the presentation, that the opportunity to overtake in this sort of area is very limited.
Yeah.
So, you might get past one car, but within a minute, you're going to be in a traffic jam. And then the perception from the person behind is probably, they've done all of that, and they're only still in front of me.
Yes.
So I think it's, they're probably thinking, why have they done it? Why have they wasted petrol, diesel, whatever,
Yeah.
to really get nowhere?
Yeah. No, I do understand that. There's a balance to be.
Yeah.
there's a calculation to be made.
Yeah.
I think when you're going to be doing overtaking, is he really going
Yeah.
to get me anywhere? Is it worthwhile? I must admit, I still overtake a practice times. I'm turning to the right or left. I know I'm not going to be behind this vehicle long, probably, but I'll do it just for practice. We'll come back to practicing.
I do think there's a necessity that many of us probably kind of discussed that, overtaking cyclists and people like that. We have to do that. Because they're travelling quite slow. And we have to do it safely. But I generally see people hesitating when they're taking cyclists, and they're not doing it correctly, and they're getting too focused on cyclists. They're doing it at the wrong time. And it's just putting everyone in danger. But there should be more skills really to get around these slower vehicles.
Well, overtaking, I don't think is generally taught much as part of the driving test. Probably the cyclists, but clearly people are getting it. They're just, in the main, not doing it particularly well, based on what I see out on the road. So, we can come back to this. We can explore all these topics a bit later. So, overtaking at its simplest level. You come across this guy, Rockbang, he's a cartoonist. He died in the early 80s, I think, at quite a young age, he was about 60. But a lot of his cartoons are absolutely fabulous. If you get it, if you Google Rockbang cartoons, it's an absolute gorgeous. There's my man running in Please Park with a vintage Bugatti. It's totally everything in sight. He had a very, very keen eye for humans. So overtaking, at its most basic, you will have all seen this diagram, and it shows a very straightforward process where you're in a following position, which is further back than you would be if you're in a compact position, and then you move out, if it's safe to do so, to a more what you might call a take-off position. And it all looks good at that point, and everything else is set up. You can execute completely your manoeuvre. And you will see the I didn't create that diagram. You will see the slightly deliberate mistake in it.
Between the contact and takeoff, you will almost have to turn 90 degrees.
Well, you have to imagine this is a moving thing. So, they're driving along the roads. They wouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
But what I was thinking of, to be honest, the first time I've ever noticed it was this evening. The takeoff position is actually ahead of the contact position. So you're actually closing down the vehicle you're overtaking before you've made the decision almost. So it really should be exactly level. So you're not in any sense committed. It's the common mistake, and I still do it sometimes if I'm thinking, cracking, this one's not tight exactly, but I haven't got a lot of time to play with, is to look with your foot, which is when you start accelerating, start brushing that throttle a bit more before you've actually made this decision. It should be completely neutral, so you're not gaining on the vehicle. I'll call it the target vehicle just because it's more quick.
At that spacing, that looks like a 20 mile per hour overtake.
It's just about it's not It depends, but I mean, it depends on something. So if you can see it to be on the target vehicle, so it's big wide, you can't really afford to be quite close to it. But let's say you're in a high performance Range Rover state, and the vehicle you're overtaking is a 500. You can see down the road in front of it a lot. So you've got, your little monster. That's it. So let's say, I'm not going to give you a set of rules here. You can't sort of teach overtaking via a talk. We're going to talk about principles and things to consider. So, thinking about overtaking in the context of the road layout. So, a few thoughts there. How much of the road can you actually see? Or how much road can you see? You can see a mile, you're obviously in a better position. I think you can see 200 yards. How much road can you see? This one's really important. What options left or right does the target have? So if there's an option right, which could be a junction, or a house entrance, or what other kind of options right on a vehicle?
Lay-by.
Lay-by, yes, brilliant. That's exactly the one I was thinking of. People sort of forget those sometimes, yeah. I think, and especially if there's a vehicle parked in a lay-by as well, of course, which may turn out or may have something behind it, which turns out. But yeah, people have been called out by people thinking, oh, lay-by, I'll stop and have a sandwich. Drive across to the lay-by, and of course you'll then come up. Left or right, but right obviously being the one that we're really concerned about. Is there somewhere a vehicle fearful? I.e., do we know what's off the edges of the road? Edges, or the edge of the road is obscured. Again, we touch on this in a moment, but something could appear, something could basically surprise you from the end of the road. Have I overtaken the first third? Have I executed the maneuver fairly briskly and certainly not using all the path, because something appears towards you from a point going at the same speed you are, you need the same amount of road to do this, the overtake. And this one also, I think, is often not considered, and that's how fast could a vehicle emerge from the limit point. So if you've got a limit point which is the road going under a railway line, and it's a 90 left defined by dry stone walls, and you probably can't get around it at more than 20 miles an hour. I mean, the fastest anyone can come at you from there is 20 miles per hour, right? So it's a very different proposition than a road where it's a slight kick that you can't see round, but you could have a Hayabusa or an Evo 6 or whatever it might be coming towards you at 100 plus miles per hour. So those two make quite a big difference. And it's something you need to factor in. So it's part of absorbing information from the road scenario. We touched briefly on that. What do I know about the periphery of the road? If I can see 100 yards and it's flat grass, it's a different proposition than if it's obscured in whatever form that might be by woodland or hedges or something else.
Sorry, can we just clarify for the newcomers, limit points?
Sure. So limit point. So the limit point is the furthest piece of tarmac you can see in a continuous line in front of your car. So it's the most distant piece of tarmac in front of you that you can see without any breaks in it. So sometimes you get a bit of road where you can see that bit, and there's the hedge, sort of hedge line or something like that, and you can then see that bit. The limit point is not up here, because this is the furthest part you can see in an unbroken line in your vehicle. We're happy with that. It's sometimes called the vanishing point, but I prefer limit points, the first one. What do I know that I don't know? This is not a philosophical question, it's just if there are areas you can't see into, then you know there may be things that you don't know about those areas. You just have to, hoping for the best is very well, it's not a very good strategy in terms of driving. So if you know there are areas you can't see into, you need to be concerned or wary of that. And of course, signage, you might find you've got the whole something white lines against you, or signs precluding overtaking, or signs for hazards, or something else that tells you this is not a good place, maybe it's a good place to overtake. Okay, conditions. So, visual. What might you not be able to see? What do you think I might be thinking of here, which is not the most obvious one? So it might be dark. Yeah. Okay, I can't see stuff outside of my lights. Outside from my lights. Yes. I mean, animals. It wasn't the one I was thinking of, but it's actually quite a good one because animals tend to be somewhat good at not being seen. I mean, they camouflage.
Pedestrians or cyclists, all kitted up in black, but have no lights on them.
Yeah. So people that have human form of camouflage, so they're also difficult to see. Animals sometimes give you a bit of a hint, a bit of help by having eye shine. So your lights in their eyes will reflect quite brightly. But neither of them, they're both good, but neither of those were the ones I was thinking of. Anything else? So darkness, yeah, fog and mist, yeah, can't see much through that often. There's another one that I think is particularly pernicious.
Entrances?
Not really, no, that's stuff that you don't. So, typically there's a possibility there. But the one that's
Microphone?
Did you see the run? Potholes? Not potholes, it's a different kind of hazard. Exactly that. High contrast, bright sun, deep shadows. And I find that the most difficult, if you've got to work, it's psychologically tempting, or I think it's psychologically tempting to look at the bits that are easy to look at, the bright bits, and not really stare into the dark bits, because you have to work hard on that stuff. Your eyes are already typically attuned to the brightest part of the field of vision. So yeah, if the contrast is high, because you've got bright chunks of roads, bright sky, and yet there's deep dark shadow anywhere where you need to put that car, or there's something coming at you from the edge of the road. I think you need to be very wary of that. And I can't truly think of one where it's caught me out, or not badly certainly, but I'm certainly aware that the potential is there to have a moment if you fail to really look and accommodate the dark bits, even if necessary, slow down somewhat because you can't really see the dark bits. It's certainly high contrast. How much grip have you got? I mean, obviously, going to be accelerating if you're overtaking, so it's a significant consideration. Are there any road surface hazards? So, you mentioned potholes, so yeah, spot on. Anything else might be a concern?
Like road lining?
Sort of, yeah. Yes, that's not really a surface issue necessarily, specifically, although it can cause surface issues. I was thinking of, well, mud is one. Dry mud's not such a big deal, to be honest. You kick up a bit of, you pull up a bit of dust on the road surface, and cars behind get a bit dusty, but wet mud can be really problematic. The other one I was thinking of was standing water, because the weather may now be fine. It may have stopped raining, may be bright and everything. But standing water for two reasons. A, you know when driving through it, you may take off the plane. But B, also, the even bigger is possibly, because if you're confident you should be entering water that looks like standing water at a reasonable speed, I mean, not really on a 2 cars basically. But other people may predictably, you could argue, move out around it. And if you fail to notice the big puddle on the near side, and the vehicle you're overtaking sweeps out around it, that can cause some interesting problems. So standing water is definitely one that I'm very wary of. And then crosswinds, and so again, not quite so much for the cars, but if they're big enough crosswinds, there might be not such a problem. Maybe at 40, maybe the issue at 60, but it's well.
It's common from home is black ice.
Black ice. I mean, the challenge with black ice, of course, you can't really see it very easily. You can't see it. You know it might be there. There is one big clue if you're on black ice, apart from it being slippery, that you're running on black ice. Do you know
There's no noise.
Yeah, exactly that. Because it tends to, because the water freezes in a flat sheet, pretty much. So you end up with a very smooth road surface. So if you're running along and I'm not going to stop doing road noise now, noisy. Or you can hear your tires, and suddenly go, there's suddenly absence of noise, and it's cold, then that's just another, cigarette end of data there. You might be able to use in your driving plan.
Also, the road shiny becomes shiny. It's much more shiny.
Can do, yeah, sometimes. Sometimes it does. I think black ice generally, because
it goes into the whole
yeah.
it makes more like a mirror and therefore
yeah,
it looks different.
yeah, it's less visible than other things. Sometimes it's more visible than others. Yeah, clearly, if you see, I mean, you're right. If you see a road surface that is glossy looking, then yeah, absolutely be treating that with suspicion for sure.
There is on the road behind Barlow Common over the M11, there is a sign saying, beware of ice. Because the wind in the winter will underneath the bridge, leave it, and you get ice on the top of the deck. So watch out for prisoners.
Bridge decks are absolutely ice hazards in cold weather. Most American bridges, if you drive over there, you'll notice there's a sign saying beware of ice or words to that effect on them. Very rarely used over here, but there was it's a classic exactly, but someone on one of the board forums about 20 odd years ago said, I crashed my car. It was going fine until I went over a bridge. Yeah, exactly what's happened there. It's sort of 5th of January or something like that. It's cold outside on this fire, whatever. And yet they encountered some ice bridge deck. It's cool enough from the air passing. Right, we're going to get to the video in a sec. So, how much can you see past the target vehicle? If it's big, where have you got to be? Further back. Are they aware of your presence and intent? Do they know you're there? That does make a difference. Do they look like they'll help or not? We all must come across drivers that don't want you to overtake. And some that do, some that are quite happy to not have you behind them, or like quite happy to help you. Do they want to overtake themselves? They may be looking for a pass. Is there somewhere to land into? I mean, clearly somewhat critical. You've got to have a gap to get back into. And it's got to be what you're looking for is what I would term a reliable gap. In other words, not one that's closing up and opening out too much, because you're then taking a chance that it's going to work. It's going to be there when you arrive, which is not a gamble you particularly want to take. Also, of course, behind me, there's a lot to think about. There's a lot to think about. Relative acceleration capability. The person you're overtaking decides they've exhibited no anti-overtaking signs up until this point, but just in case they get the hump or whatever and decide they don't want to let you overtake it. In reality, if you're in a car that's got a lot more acceleration than the vehicle you're overtaking, likely to be absolutely fine. If it's a bit marginal, they've got a fairly powerful car, then that's another factor. I had one the other day actually on that. Some people do it, even though they're helping to engineer a head-on collision. There we go. And can you execute a smooth red match down change to an appropriate gear? So if you're travelling along 50 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour in sixth gear, say, and you decide you want to overtake the vehicle in front, and you decide that third gear, a manual gearbox car, with the appropriate gear, you really need to be able to red match that down change, otherwise you're just dragging the revs on the clutch. If you don't red match, everyone's familiar with red match. Well, good you are. If you don't, obviously you are spinning up the engine using the car's momentum to get braking. Most cars at lower speeds, it's not especially critical, but at a little bit higher speeds, where the weather's a bit not so favourable, it's damp, and particularly if you're on a corner or starting to turn the car into a corner, that combination can be enough to lock up the driven wheels if they're at the rear of the car particularly, and it's effectively equivalent to pulling the handbrake, which no one presumably would try. I do know something to write a car off doing that. I'm not an IAM, but he was apparently a trained police officer. Just false. There we go. Anyway, so I'm a big fan of red matching.
Nick, can we go back to the previous slide and talk about the second topic down? So the horn now is used predominantly as a method of review rather than a normal warning approach. So I suppose you have to be. I tend not to use my horn just in case people rise to a challenge or they think, what the hell have I done wrong? In the motorway, though, when the distances are far greater, we're advised to use a fraction of the headlights on long distances. But on A roads and B roads, any comments on that?
Well, first I'm just going to qualify. I'm smiling because the George Earls video under DeBath, he gets in the first bit of motorway coming out of London, which is the first bit of the M4 that's being built. He comes up behind a Singer boat or something, a lower performance car. We're ticking on the lights, doesn't move over, leans on the horn. About 4 seconds, and the guy leans out the window and goes like that to us. But he clearly was completely comfortable with, okay, he's not acknowledged my presence, I'll make sure I'll make him wake up. I will give him a really long blast on the horn. As I was saying, there isn't really a set of rules about this stuff. I think a little toot on the horn is probably not going to be too badly taken. You have to kind of weigh that one up, a little bit dependent on the chassis, what we call the chassis language of the vehicle, how they behaving generally. I think a little bit of a tickle on the light, what I term a tickle on the light, so there's just a little flash for maybe half a second or so, might wake them up a little bit. Being out in the take-off position might wake them up to the fact that you're looking for an overtake. Having the offside indicator on might also wake them up. So, indicator on, then it'll tickle on the lights, and they start getting a bit behind me indicating might do the job. But we'll have a look at the video, and because that kind of is dealt with there as well to an extent. So, but yeah, you have to make, that's a decision you have to make. You have to make it for every single time that happens. And to make the point here, they say caution favours the prepared mind, and because cars are often where they can, they'll be travelling at the speed limit or near it. Often very often these days, if you want to execute an overtake, you need to do it where the other vehicles slow down somewhat. So if any circumstance ends, or junctions even, or roundabouts, or whatever, they will have slowed down somewhat. If you have enough power, you can, what I've got, overwhelm them with power, so you can go past, just because they've slowed to 35, 40, when they would normally be travelling at 60, you can just squirt past them if it's safe to do so. But having the thought in mind that, they're going to have to slow here for X, Y, or Z, this may be my opportunity, just allows you to be prepared to do it. As we say, 90% of the overtake's done with planning. A lot of time you're just squeezing the throttle on and going past. It's almost completely done. Plan is the critical. But anyway, you can make the decision to proceed if it's possible and you're comfortable that the target will act sensibly, I not do anything stupid, and you're able to set up here, etc. to do it, then you can make the decision to go. Deciding not to go is never really wrong as such. And you may decide not to, whatever it is, you criticise well. Now, why do you think that they use as much acceleration as you need, but not necessarily any more you actually need?
160 speed limit.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take it as given that we're not going to be exceeding the statutory limit. So, but I'm talking about acceleration rather than speed. So let's see if I can accelerate.
Is it perception of the other person?
Yeah. Mostly that, actually, yeah. If you're in a car with noise, say, I think you want to try and make overtaking reasonably discreet. In other words, some people do get quite frightened. They're not used to being overtaken. They're not expecting. It's quite intimidating.
It's similar to, sorry, Paul, but it's similar to like a high power motor car, because quite often it does, even people like myself, you get the one that suddenly appears, and the next thing you hear is that noise, and
it's quite disquieting, isn't it? It's like hearing a sudden aircraft. Hence the sign, sudden aircraft.
Yeah.
Because it's all of a sudden something's happening that you weren't necessarily expecting. Yeah. So, what you've been saying, if you do it discreetly, so use as much power as you need, but don't give it all the beans. You don't need that to get past smoothly. And, of course, if you can, you might need to slot back in as well. In which case, you don't want to go powering past 7,000 RPM in third gear, and then have to stand on the brakes to get back into your landing position. You really want to be smoothly past, and generally, if you're doing it reasonably, you'll be off the power by the time you've actually got alongside the vehicle you're overtaking. So you'll be travelling faster than anything, backing off back in, just in front of it. So without braking, so you're not forcing them to slow. It's not the worst sin in the book, but it's a bit crass if you force someone you've overtaken to split.
Isn't that another argument for having that lower gear? Because lower gear not only gives you acceleration, but it gives you the gentle braking.
You can manage your speed more effectively without braking. Yeah. So, and you've got to balance that against the noise. You'll be a bit noisier, more rest in the lower gear, etc. But generally, I would count it as a minor fail if I overtook someone and then had to brake to get back in. I misjudged that. unless I decide in advance that I'm going to do this one putt, I will need to pick up a little bit, just because of the layout of the road or whatever it might be. And my final point there really is, your number one priority is re-establishing your vehicle on a safe course. So, yeah, I get you don't want to hit the vehicle you just overtake, clearly. That's really, but you know, if you've overtaken it with a reasonable speed difference, you know, you're very unlikely to have that problem. I let a very quick glance in the mirror or the near side door mirror will confirm that you're passed or not. But what I don't want to is people look in the mirror, you know, do anything other than get in the car, establish safety plans, especially if you've got a closing, reducing vision. If you're heading towards a limit point, or you've got oncoming traffic, you know, your number one priority absolutely has to be to get back on the near side of the road, get the car sorted out, travelling in a balanced fashion, and then you can do anything else you want to do, like waving, so acknowledging the overtake. Now, I don't tend to wave anymore. I was taught to wave, and I started thinking about a decade ago, actually, I have no idea how that lands. So you might think, thank you very much for your courtesy. They might think you're going, son of a suckers, you know. I don't wave. I don't know how that lands in the vehicle behind me. You know, what's interpreted from that. So what I think is more commonly accepted these days is two flashes on the hazards. And that's what I tend to do, I must admit. So I've been doing that, and thinking wasn't wholly originally mine. I picked that up from people who are doing this professionally, you know, 5 days a week. And but I think it works. People understand the hazards. It's not confrontational. I think that maybe if they're being really obviously helpful, like put the left indicator on and slow down and move to the side of the road somewhat, you know, to help you through, then I think that's probably okay. But I don't think it's actually any better than.
You know, when you go for the overtake, you come up to contact, then you move out, hold that position.
Yeah.
Then when something's coming, you move back in. A lot of people don't then drop back to a safe following. Most people will just stay on your tail.
So that's going to, you know, if they're doing it right, that's going to depend on whether they think another overtake may arise imminently, because you're making life hard for yourself if you continuously drop it back when an overtake might be possible. Because you're then having to, you know, that a bit of elastic's having to be stretched and shortened all the time. But yeah, I mean, clearly, if there's absolutely definitely no overtake
Back.
in prospect, then dropping back's the right thing to do. But equally, yeah, I suppose it's going to be another one of these depends questions. You know, if one might be, then dropping back might be you actually don't get it because you're too far back and you have to get it in the right position.